If you own one of these Arcade 1-Up cabinets and are thinking about buying that vinyl dance floor tape to do the pinstriping, there's two things you need to know before you continue. Coming up next. There are two problems with using this dance floor vinyl tape to pinstripe your Arcade 1-Up cabinet, and they both involve deformation of this material, this stretchy vinyl tape. One is elastic deformation, and that's when you pull the tape away from the reel and it elongates the tape or stretches it, and then eventually that tape will want to go back to its natural form and shrink back. And I'll show you an example of that on this cabinet. And then another example is plastic deformation. And that's when the tape has been stretched way too far and it's permanently deformed from its original state. And I've seen that where you just see the tape hanging from the cabinet and it's just totally stretched out and ruined. And I'll show you that as well on this cabinet so you can see examples of both forms of deformation. The first version that I want to show is a version of elastic deformation. And what I did is on this side of the cabinet, I started to stretch this tape out from, just underneath the lip of the control panel here, and then down to the bottom of this. And it seems all good at the time because you're stretching it out and you're actually getting it a little bit longer and it's going a little further than it would if it was just its natural shape. And then over time, this kind of tries to go back to its original shorter length, and then it separates away from the arcade cabinet. I don't know if you can see that or not with that white behind there. So the tape just kind of went back to its shorter version of itself, which is natural, and separates away from the cabinet. And I've seen that on a couple of different videos. So what you really have to do is you have to pull this tape out to the length you need it, don't stretch it, and then maybe just hang it on the top of this or the top of the cabinet up here and let it set for about 10 minutes. It'll shrink back to any kind of stretching or anything that happened when you pulled it off the reel, and then it'll go back to its natural shape, and then apply the tape on the cabinet, and then you'll get the nice pinstriping that you wanted, like on this side of the cabinet. So this happens quite a bit and it's easy to avoid. Just pull out your tape to the length you need it, let it shrink back to its normal shape, wait about 10 minutes, and then apply the tape, and you should be good to go. Okay, now with this one, this is a version of the plastic deformation. This is like permanently ruining the vinyl tape by stretching it way too far. And this is probably an over-exaggeration of what I saw on some of the videos. But what you could see is that the vinyl tape was just hanging loose like this and just stretched way too far when they applied it. So the way to combat that is to just don't stretch this out. Just kind of unreel it from the reel and cut it to the length you need. Let it hang for a little while, for 10 minutes. Let it shrink back to its normal shape or whatever possible shape it might have been stretched in or out of. And then apply it, and you'll avoid this little problem where the tape just totally gets deformed, or with like elastic deformation where it gets stretched out a little bit too far and then wants to shrink back to its original shape. So two examples of how you can kind of ruin things when you want to make things better with your Arcade 1-Up cabinet. Okay, so I thought I should show you the proper way to do the vinyl tape for pinstriping your cabinet. So basically what you want to do is kind of roll it out from the tape, don't stretch it, and basically make it a little bit longer than what you actually need. That way you won't have any disasters with it being too short and wasting tape. So it's always better to be a little bit too long, a little too short. And then cut it off here. Okay. And then what you want to do is just take it and hang it, maybe from the top of the cabinet. I've got the control panel off so I can let it hang where it's not touching anything. Just let it hang freely there so it can shrink back to its original shape. Wait about 10 minutes, and then you can start applying the tape to the side moldings and not have to worry about any elastic deformation problems or plastic deformation if you went crazy with your tape originally. And don't stretch it when you apply it either. And that way, when you put this on, you'll have nice looking cabinet and not have to worry about it shrinking over time and pulling away from the side of the cabinet. It's a little tricky around those little corners right underneath here. I'd say that's probably the trickiest part, is like right under here. The rest is kind of a no-brainer, but right there it's kind of tricky. So I'm going to have quite a bit excess down here at the bottom. And prior to filming this, I did let it shrink back to the shape for like 10 minutes. So this will not come separated. But yeah, that's all you really have to do it properly. So I hope that helps, and I will see you next time. Thank you.